911. What's the address of the emergency?
My mother is dead, and I came over to check on her. She is lying on the floor in the kitchen. I believe she was either assaulted or murdered.
This frantic call was made by Robert Testerman, who had just found his mother in a position he could never imagine.
You said there's a gun in there? There's a gun. She has 2 shotguns and a handgun. There is a shotgun sitting on her kitchen table.
But what awaited later in this investigation was even more frightening.
Farmer County Police, anyone inside? Shotgun faceless.
He's in the kitchen, there are guns in the house.
The time of death is 2024.
A shroud of mystery surrounded the identity of a killer until a crucial piece of evidence emerged. The killer had been caught on a camera.
He's a white male, thin to average build, seemed to be pretty tall, and late 20s, early 30s.
As the investigation of this unknown figure escalated, another chilling reality of more than one murder came into light that stunned the investigators.
She's gone too. She's dead too. You give me a cigarette right now, I'll tell you everything y'all need to know.
On June 24th, 2018, Robert Testerman and his whole family were excited and preparing for his mother, Cindy Bertina Testerman's 62nd birthday. This was one of those few occasions when the entire family gathered and enjoyed each other's company. However, their happiness was about to turn into a horror no one could have expected. On the evening of June 24th, Robert had tried calling Cindy over and over, but there was no response, which made him concerned. Robert, who had grown even closer to his mother after his father Michael's death, regularly checked on her. When all his calls went unanswered, he decided to pay a visit to his mother without knowing that what he was about to find would change his life forever.
I didn't think that my fears that had crept into my brain while I was driving over, I didn't expect any of that to be real. Like, hey, I wonder what's happening here. What's the worst that it could be? I never imagined that it could actually be the worst.
His mother lived alone at her father's home after moving in to take care of him and ended up living there after his death. Upon entering the home at around 8 p.m., he immediately noticed an unpleasant smell in the entire house. But things were about to take a darker turn. He saw a gun lying on a kitchen table and frantically started looking for his mother. As he moved further into the house, something stopped him in his tracks.
I stopped right in the middle of the living room and I called to her. And I was like, Mom? And there was no response. And so I panicked. Like I turned around, I walked back out to the front porch, and I immediately called 911.
Upon receiving the call, the investigators reached the 7900 block of Roseland Avenue, Maryland, USA, and Robert gave them the horrifying details he'd just witnessed.
Straight ahead to the right. I haven't even gone into the kitchen yet. You said there's a gun in there? There's a gun. She has 2 shotguns and a handgun. There is a shotgun sitting on her kitchen table. From the distance that I was away from her, it looked like it was red around her neck.
All right. Is there any reason why a shotgun would be out?
I do not know.
After getting the details about the possible murder, the officers went in to investigate the home, unaware that they were about to unravel one of the most sinister plots they'd come across. Knowing that there was a gun lying in the home and there could be a possible threat to them as well, the detectives first did a quick check of the surroundings of the home before entering. Once they were in Cindy's home, they checked every room with the utmost safety and looked for the perpetrator in every corner of the house.
Farmer County Police, anyone inside?
Shotgun faceless.
He's in the kitchen, there are guns in the house.
I got a closed door to my left here, 2 other rooms to clear. All right. Take that bathroom real quick.
Clear.
After receiving the all clear from all the rooms, the detectives approached the kitchen where Robert had seen his unconscious mother. In front of them was Cindy Bertina Testerman, lying unresponsive on the kitchen floor, drenched in blood. Blood was scattered all across the place, and she was pronounced dead at the scene. Her death was ruled as a homicide due to the trauma inflicted by an edged weapon to her upper body.
The time of death is 2024.
However, this was not the only thing that worried the officers, as the killer had devised a scheme that could have been a possible threat to the officers too.
Hey, turn the stove off, but I don't want
Okay.
you to get too close. You want to grab that?
Yeah, if you can. The medic can reach over. Yeah. Okay. I got you. Yep.
Inside, we had a gas smell. It's a very dangerous situation because the least little bit of a spark obviously could set something like that off, and you don't want that. You don't know if the actual suspect was hoping that maybe that it would take an ignite in some way.
After recovering Cindy's body, the investigators searched through the house for any clues or information about the killer. As they investigated around, her house was discovered to be in a state of complete disarray, and there was a clear indication of a robbery. The drawers were out of place, and several valuable items were missing from her house, including her jewelry.
There's drawers that are all displaced and stuff. On the second story, there's a safe on the ground in the back bedroom. It's laying on the ground in the middle of the floor. It looks out of place.
Cindy's 2013 Honda Accord was also missing from the garage. The mess in her home clearly suggested that the perpetrator had been searching for valuables, indicating a motive tied to theft, and the police believed it was a burglary gone wrong.
The person who committed this crime may have gone there initially to take into a robbery, or may have known that the victim had money or assumed that the victim had money. So again, not knowing what that person's actual motive was, you could surmise anything.
After investigating the house, the detectives were baffled as to why anyone would want to kill an elderly woman. That's when they turned to the only person who would have definitely known everything about the victim and could provide them with some helpful information, Cindy's son, Robert. He was the first one to be on the crime scene and called the detectives.
When's the last time you saw her? Or talked to her?
The last time I talked to her, Wednesday maybe. We traded or she sent me a text on Friday that I didn't respond to.
After this, they got their hands on one crucial piece of evidence that led them to their possible suspect. Robert had access to his mother's home surveillance camera, and there were unusual and shocking moments captured on the camera. A young man who seemed to be acquainted with Cindy was seen having a casual conversation with her. However, it raised many questions, as Robert had no idea who this man was or how he was related to Cindy. The young man was seen coming in and out of the house on the day of Cindy's murder too, and then he drove away in her car. Now it seemed to be becoming clearer in front of the cops that this man could have attempted the robbery by befriending Cindy. Having a person of interest and collecting evidence, the police immediately launched an investigation to find the killer. However, little did they know that they were soon going to unravel an unthinkably sadistic plot which would haunt everyone involved. In search of every possible clue, the detectives canvassed the whole neighborhood to find out if anyone had any idea about this incident or had seen anything unusual.
Her father just passed away. It was his house.
Mm-hmm.
I used to sit there over there and play checkers with him.
Wow. Is her car usually there?
Yeah. And I told my wife, I said, Cindy's car ain't been there all day.
Cindy's neighbors didn't know anything about her murder, but they revealed something that left them bewildered.
Who stays in this house here?
That's another story.
Okay. Is anyone currently here?
I don't know where she's at, in a rehab or something. So I don't know where she's at.
Yeah.
I haven't seen her in 3 months.
They stated that there was another woman in the neighborhood, Judy Elizabeth Slebzak, 66, just living across the street from Cindy, who also had not been seen around for a long time. This information raised concerns for the officers, and they went to her home to inquire if there was anything wrong, but no one answered. Now, the investigators knew that there was a high chance that something terrible could have happened to Judy, too.
Now I'm called in for one murder, and in the process of investigating it, we're also working now a missing persons case as well. It definitely kind of ramps things up a little bit.
The detectives launched an investigation to find Judy, along with Cindy's murder, and sought information related to her from neighbors. However, even here, it seemed there was something ominous going on behind the scene. When asked about Judy, everyone had a different story to tell as to where they'd last seen or heard from her. Some claimed that they'd last saw Judy about a week before, while others claimed that they'd seen her at other times. Although the timeline provided by the neighbors about Judy didn't match, most of them mentioned that she was in rehab. This raised suspicion among the officers as to why no one had any idea about this woman. The investigators were puzzled about the stories of both women, and there was no one who could shed light on what had happened to either of them. One woman was dead, and another was missing. They were both of similar age and had lived alone in their homes. It seemed like a pattern was emerging. However, there were no answers in sight. Questions regarding the two women kept piling up until a shocking piece of evidence came to light. As the investigation moved further, Cindy's car was located in the city, and the officers spotted 3 people sitting in the car.
This is a vehicle that we know was stolen during the course of a murder, and there's a real strong possibility that whoever's in this vehicle is involved in the murder, and want to make sure everybody's safe.
They'd stopped the car mid-road and started questioning the people traveling in it. Initially, the family of 3 were afraid, but later claimed they had no idea who previously owned the car. They didn't even know the car was involved in any crime. The family said they'd bought it from someone else.
Man sold this car to me and my husband. I didn't steal anything. I didn't know the car was stolen. I wouldn't buy no stolen car.
After reviewing their statements, the detectives concluded that they indeed had no connection with Cindy or her murder and let them go. However, there was one peculiar thing that stood out to the officers.
They bought the car from someone they knew as Bird, which doesn't do us a whole lot of good at that point either. He's a white male, thin to average build, seemed to be pretty tall, and late 20s, early 30s. He had shorter, light brown hair that kind of was consistent with the guy in the video, but we still need to figure out who he is.
In parallel, the search for Judy was being conducted, and that's when a close neighbor of hers revealed something alarming. Linda James, who used to live right beside Judy, had called the officers and stated something that had turned the whole case upside down.
Did you hear from Judy at all?
No, she is not around.
I can't seem to come up with her.
Her stepson, his first name is Ryan. That's his name, Ryan. I don't know his last name, but I found his first name, Ryan. She was gone for a couple weeks, or about a week or so, and I was told that she had gone into a rehab. I do believe she has a substance abuse problem because she has some health issues, and I think she was abusing some Percocets. But that's only rumors from the neighborhood. And that's when Ryan showed up again, and he was there, and he kind of told them, I'm here now, I'll take care of her. And we didn't see her except to hear a rumor that she went into rehab again.
This information stood out to the investigators as Ryan McGuire, 32, claimed to take care of his stepmother, but now neither he nor Judy were seen anywhere. Getting suspicious about him, the police searched through Ryan's records to find any clue about him, and what they found next left them bewildered.
I'm able to find a pretty old police report that referenced a stepson, Ryan McGuire. So my partner and I start pulling up photos of McGuire, and we were comparing the pictures we have of him from the video to these previous mug shots. And I remember my partner looking at the one picture and going, I think that's him.
Now, along with finding their person of interest, the investigators had to find Judy sound and safe too, and they were going to leave no stone unturned. They decided to investigate Judy's house. They searched through the rooms and basement, but there was nothing that stood out. As they went ahead with their investigation, they could never imagine the twisted and shocking series of events that would eventually lead them to the sickening motives. Cindy's son, Robert, was trying his level best to bring justice for his mother, and he'd unearthed an important clue that would lead the officers to their possible suspect.
I was immediately like, anything that I can do to try to help. We knew that the wallet was stolen, so I was like, let me log into the credit cards and see if there's any activity on them. And so when we get on there and we see that there are purchases that day being made at Foot Locker and a gas station, and so I'm getting on the call with the homicide detectives and just sending this information over. Like, this is a charge, it happened here, it's at East Point Mall.
Upon discovering the cards were missing, the investigators believed that the person who was using the cards might be the killer of Cindy. When Robert traced the last location of the cards being used, it was last used at a motel to make a payment. At that very instance, The detectives rushed to the motel to find out who this man was. As they entered and examined the CCTV, they were taken aback and couldn't believe what they were looking at. The person using the cards was Judy's son, Ryan. He was seen freely moving in the motel and having the time of his life. The detectives also found Judy's car in the parking lot of the Deluxe Motel, 6401 Pulaski Highway in Baltimore. They discovered that he was staying in a room rented under the name of Jessica Chamberlain, Ryan's girlfriend. The officers finally had their suspect and the possible killer, and they wasted no time capturing him. When Ryan was seen exiting the room and heading towards the car, he was ultimately arrested. Suspicion and evidence against him kept on building. As the investigators entered the motel room, they recovered the cards that belonged to both Cindy and Judy. He'd been using these cards to buy stuff for himself, as he was a junkie and was using his stepmother Judy's car to commute, who was still missing. They also found mail and financial documents in Judy's name, Cindy's checkbook, several pairs of new shoes, and a large amount of women's jewelry. The investigators also got their hands on a thing which almost proved that Ryan had killed Cindy. They found a knife in his shoes with bloodstains on them. After a DNA test, it was determined that the blood on his shoes matched Cindy. As haunting as these findings were, no one could be prepared for the horrific revelation awaiting them. On June 26, 2018, just 2 days after Cindy's murder, Ryan McGuire was arrested and sent for interrogation. While sitting in the interrogation room, he looked calm and composed, and he had little to no nervousness on his face. As the investigator entered the room, geared up to obtain information from Ryan, he said something that left even the investigator flabbergasted.
There you go. Hey, think I get a cigarette, man? Yeah, probably. I'll have to find one. It might take me a minute, but yeah, I don't think that's a problem. Are you good? Anything else you need? I just want a cigarette. You give me a cigarette right now, I'll tell you everything y'all need to know. Okay.
Ryan's words left the officer astonished, and he agreed to get him the cigarettes as he didn't want to lose any information. However, as the investigation moved further, he revealed a jaw-dropping secret that the police department had been searching diligently for.
You said you've been staying at the motel there?
Yeah, I stayed there for a couple of days.
Okay. What about before that?
I've been staying with that lady.
Who's that?
The huge car I had.
Judy.
Yeah.
Okay. What's your relationship to her?
She's like, I don't know, like my stepmom or something like that.
Okay. She let you use the car and everything?
Yeah.
All right, nice lady. Where's she at these days?
Yeah, listen. I need a cigarette. I'm not saying nothing else. I'll get a cigarette.
Okay.
Ryan accepted that he'd killed Judy, and he was the same person seen around Cindy's home too. So, to keep him talking further, the officer was about to leave to get him cigarettes, and that's when he dropped another bombshell.
I'm gonna tell you everything you need to know. She's gone too. She's dead too. Just to let you know, she's dead too. You're going to charge me with that one too. So I'll tell you where she's at as soon as I get a cigarette.
All right, man.
I know I'm here for the one across the street.
What's that?
I'm here for what? Across the street.
Yeah, man.
After some time, the officer came with a cigarette and gave it to Ryan. He smoked it stoically, as if he hadn't committed anything sinister. After his demand was fulfilled, he started unfolding his evil doings one by one.
So they're not supposed to be smoking in an interview room, but that's one of the things that we do sometimes, let them smoke because we want them to be comfortable and talk to us.
So what do you want first? Well, I could start from the beginning.
Y'all not gonna find Judy without me telling you where she's at.
Where's she at?
She's still in her house.
Okay.
If y'all take me there, I'll show you where she's at.
All right. Can you explain it to me?
She got high. She was getting high, so she asked me to shoot her up. I shot up and she OD'd. So.
As sickening as these revelations were, there were other horrifying details Ryan revealed that would make anyone question his sanity.
He actually admits that they were using drugs and that he intentionally overdosed her, knowing that it would kill her.
When you went to Judy's, was that just because...
She called me out the blue, helping her get off the drugs.
Oh, okay.
Ryan had been continuously conducting his vile acts without any hesitation or fear. He'd mercilessly killed his stepmother, but this was not the only heinous thing he'd committed to her. His actions towards his stepmother were much more diabolical than anyone could imagine.
Where in the house was that? I was in the house. Whose house? Whose house were you in? Judy's. I was in both houses. Y'all guys, you smell it? Not yet. It stinks. I've just been putting down perfume. Okay. It's upstairs in the bedroom. Is that right? Okay. What is it, like a hidden compartment type thing? It's down to the bed. With that pink towel was on. Okay. Upstairs in the bedroom. Well.
Knowing about Judy's murder and malevolent details, the officers were dumbfounded. However, there was another person who'd fallen prey to this cold-blooded killer, Cindy. As the officer asked Ryan about Cindy, he gave an outraged reply.
I need to find out everything that he could tell me about what happened with Cindy Testerman.
What happened across the street? She asked me a question. About what? About you. She's realized something was going on there. I guess. What were you doing over her house? What that? You know who that is? Yeah, Cindy. Yeah. So she called you? You sent the phone number or whatever? Yeah, she called from Judy's house. Okay.
When the officer asked him how he killed Cindy, he calmly stated the details of the murder and why exactly he killed her.
And then how did that go? That's not too good. Well, I mean, I get that, but I mean, how did it kind of happen? That's like, because she was asking too much, and then he said she was ready to call the cop. Oh yeah. And with that. All right. So how did it happen? What happened? Mm-hmm. So there's that. Tripped her and then stabbed her.
After his mind-boggling confession about both murders in exchange for one cigarette, he was charged with 2 counts of murder. The investigators also recovered Judy's body from the chest of her bed kept in her own home, as revealed by her stepson, Ryan. His trial didn't start until November 2019, and he pled guilty to both counts of first-degree murder of Cindy and Judy. Ryan, then 34, was sentenced to serve 2 consecutive life terms behind bars on December 12, 2019, with no chance of parole for his barbarous execution of helpless women. During the trial, it came to light that Ryan was on probation for burglary when he started living with his stepmother, Judy, and committed these sinister crimes. Prosecutors theorized that Ryan used drugs to sedate Judy and then put her in the chest of the bed to get her money and house. He's currently incarcerated in a prison cell at the Western Correctional Institution in Cumberland, Maryland. No rational motive or justification could possibly explain Ryan's decision to murder Judy Slezbach and Cindy Bertina Testerman other than his own selfishness as a drug addict. Ryan would have likely felt a sinister scheme was running smoothly until Cindy raised questions. With Judy dead and the house as his personal crack den, he was freely selling her belongings to fund his habit, all while telling neighbors she was away in rehab. But Ryan's unsettling ruse began drawing suspicion from Judy's concerned friend, Cindy, whose relentless queries over her mysteriously vanished neighbor threatened to shatter his design and expose his hidden crimes. Rather than risk Cindy reporting her doubts to the police, paranoid Ryan decided murdering this nosy neighbor was the only way he could continue draining away every last bit of value from Judy's property without consequences. Both women, known for their warmth and kindness, are deeply missed by their loved ones. Their untimely deaths have left a void that can never be filled, but there's a little sense of justice with the sentencing of their killer. The impact of those tragic events continues to be deeply felt by everyone. May their souls rest in peace. This case highlighted how drug addiction affected a young individual so much that he didn't even think twice before murdering his own stepmother and a lovely neighbor. Although saddening, if it hadn't been for Cindy's murder, Judy's murder might have never come to light. With this, we ask you, what do you think could have prevented the deaths of both women? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel as we bring you more such interesting true crime cases. If there's any particular case that you'd like us to cover, please leave your suggestions in the comment section. Your suggestions are important to us. Till then, stay safe and keep watching Mysterious 7 Crime Story.